Okay, your meeting is live, Chair.
Thank you, Jane. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Councillor Lynn Stagg, Cabinet Member for Traffic and Transportation. Welcome to this meeting, which is being held virtually in response to the limitations placed on governance by the COVID-19 pandemic. The City Solicitor advised that this meeting will be run by reference to the model standing orders as set out in the Local Authorities Coronavirus Flexibility of Local Authority Meetings Regulations 2020, number 392. The meeting is being broadcast to enable the press and public to view it. There has been the opportunity for written representations to be submitted. None have been received. Those present are requested to keep their microphones on mute and to only turn them on when they're called to speak. Members are requested to keep their cameras turned on at all times. Officers are requested to turn their cameras on only when they're presenting reports or answering questions. If anyone would like to speak, please write their names and RTS request to speak in the chat function. I'll now introduce you, or I'll ask people to introduce themselves. So we have two councillors here. So Councillor Heaney.
I'm Councillor Heaney. I'm the Labour Group spokesperson on traffic and transportation.
Thank you. And Councillor Bosher.
Hi there, Councillor Simon Bosher. I am the Conservative spokesman for traffic and transportation.
Lovely, thank you. Oh, hang on now. I've got to find my agenda now. Oh, right, I've got it. Good. Have I got anything to say anything else, Jane, at this stage about the second bit of the meeting?
No, that's fine.
Okay,
fine, Chair. Thank you.
In that case, do we have any apologies? Well, no, the two opposition spokespeople are here, so that's fine. And do you have any declarations of interest, Councillor Heaney?
No declarations of interest, no.
Right. Councillor Bosher?
No declarations, Glenn.
Lovely, thank you. Right, so we're on to agenda item number 3, which is Faucet Road Public Realm Improvements. And are you going to be presenting this, Caroline?
I believe so, unless Martin is going to do an introduction.
Martin, over to you.
Thank you. May I introduce Caroline Hopper?
Sorry, I've messed
That's
up.
quite all right.
Would you like to go ahead?
Are you are you okay for me to share my screen? I was thinking,
yes.
obviously there was papers submitted that I'm sure people have had a chance to read, but I was going to share my screen and the presentation around Faucet Road, if that was okay.
Yes, lovely, thank you.
If you could let me know when you can see it, because I can't see any of you.
Yes, there.
Okay, I would say, because I can't see any of you while I'm doing this, please do feel free to sort of, if you want me to stop and you want to ask a question, please just shout out, I suppose, is the best way.
Well, we could raise a hand option as well, so if anybody wants to use that.
That would be great. I can't see any hands, though.
No, but I can. Well, yes, I'm okay. I think I can see them.
Brilliant. That's great. If you could let me know, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, I'll just keep going through this. I know you've got a busy agenda, so. So this is just to give you for information overview of the Faucet Road Public Realm Upgrade project. This is a project that commenced in 2020. It started just before the first lockdown. It is a collection of small activities that we hope will make a big difference to the street scene in the road, and its focus is around ensuring that people have a cleaner, greener, safer city to move around in, and to really support regeneration in Faucet Road as an area of hospitality and retail. We have split the programme into 2 phases. That's quite deliberate. What we have is a lot of greening activity, and we're starting that now, and we'll be concluding that by mid-April, and that's quite important to get that work done early in the season to give the best chance to bed in. There'll be other activities, including some new zebra crossings, and they're already in, new cycle hoops, build out. I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a moment. More greening and new bins. That's all going to happen in the next month, and we're trying to get that all completed before the opening of non-essential retail to try and minimise any disruption in the road, because there is a lot of non-essential retail in that road that will be reopening. We've held back a couple of activities, and that is the new gateway signage and considering a solution for some commercial bins that have been by Fratton roundabout for some time now. So we've held that back because we need to work with the community on both of those items, and we need to make sure that the national roadmap is in a place to enable that. So we're looking at that happening in June. The build out is going to be delivered via an experimental traffic regulation order, and because of that, that consultation will be ongoing once the build out is in situ, and that should complete in November. So that's the timelines that we're looking at. In terms of the build out, this is a small increased public realm that's going to be situated outside the Baffled Coffee shop. And we'll have community herb planters on it. And the idea here is to really create a bit more space and an opportunity for people to have a bit of a step change in the way that they use the streets. They can stop, as you see articulated there, and pause for a moment, enjoy the community planters, and just sort of change of atmosphere there. It's quite a small build out, as you'll see. It's 5 metres by 2 metres, so it's the size of one car. For the trees, there's already 21 trees on Faucet Road, and some of those trees are not looking in particularly good condition. We've done a little bit of work to understand that, and we're going to be putting in place a plan to address and improve the condition of the existing trees over the coming years. We are planting 4 new trees, and they are going to be sited as seen outside 4 of the businesses on the road. I think Mardi Gras has actually just recently changed hands, so apologies for that one. I will get the new business name inserted. I'm pleased to say that the trial pits for the trees concluded today, and have identified those sites as completely suitable for the 4 trees that we're putting in, and those are sea buckthorns. They're extremely tough, very tolerant, so we're expecting them to do very, very well in the area and be really complementary. Some of the other activities going on in the road are just generally around tidying up that street scene. So we're looking at replacement of the litter bins. As you can see from the pictures there, some of them are well overdue replacement. And we're also looking at painting up, and there are a few objects not displayed here that we're also looking at. There's a telephone box which is looking slightly unloved, and a few other items. So again, what we're looking at is just creating a tidier, cleaner, more enjoyable pedestrian experience on the road. And then the gateway signage. So at the moment, you can see the first picture there is what we currently have in Faucet Road. We know that the current placement of the gateway signage isn't ideal, and we could make better use of the footpath. So what we're looking to do is to change the positioning of the gateway signage to enable that. And we're also looking to have a design for the gateway signage similar to the the type of designs that you see around the Southsea area, where it really creates a bit of ownership for Faucet Road as a shopping district in its own right. So you'll see the Southsea example there, but it's not going to look like Southsea because that is Southsea and this is Faucet. We're going for a racing green theme in Faucet Road, but the design, what we're looking to do is work with the community, so work with school children and the businesses to confirm that, and that's why that piece has been held back. And that is the end of the slideshow for Faucet Road, so I can take questions if there are.
Thank you, Caroline. Very interesting. Councillor Berkshire, any questions, comments?
Yes, thanks, Lynn. I'll ask the same question, Caroline, that I asked at the briefing, because obviously we're in a public meeting now. What consideration in the design have you put in place for those with mobility or visual impairments to make it cleaner for them to be able to move around without cluttering up the street space?
Yep. So what we've done is taken some learning from work that we did last year with a number of disabled residents and disability groups in the city. We've made sure when we're putting the trees that they are actually in areas that have already been built out, so there's absolutely sufficient space for mobility around those trees. We're also looking at the use of curbstones, which are tactile, so that people can tell when they're coming up to the edges of the road. So it's been designed with that in mind. We're also going to take the design for a final sense check to some of our disability groups, just to make sure that if there's anything else that they can see that we can work on while we're in Faucet Road, we can look at that. I think I mentioned the gateway signage, where we're going to reduce from 2 gateway signs currently to 1, but it's going to be one better one, and that will increase the space.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all, Simon?
Yes, that's fine. It'd be interesting to see when it actually starts to come to fruition. I mean, are there plans, Caroline? I mean, this is obviously targeted at improving Faucet Road. Are there any other areas of the city where you're going to be looking to do this sort of work in the future?
We have identified a number of high streets around the city that we would like to look at doing some work on in the future. We haven't confirmed those, but actually anywhere where there is retail and hospitality, following the work we've done around supporting throughout the pandemic last year, we identified a lot of scope for recovery activities similar to this. So at the moment we're just basing out what it is feasible to do in the coming years around those.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Lynn.
Okay, Graham?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of questions. I understand, if I'm correct, the small planters outside the shop with the herbs are going to be looked after by the shop. That's going to be their responsibility. Is that correct?
Yeah. So they're going to look after them. Yeah. So we're not going to be incurring maintenance costs on those.
I suppose the other thing was related to the planting. I mean, I know trees get planted, but I'm always concerned that sometimes they aren't always looked after once they're in particularly newly planted, and you get a hot spell immediately after being in for a month or two, like we did last year in the spring. Have we got a proper regime for making sure they're properly watered and looked after while they establish?
Yes, we've got a meeting tomorrow with the landscape architects and the contractor to ensure that they've got the best chance of thriving. So that will include the watering and maintenance plan.
Okay, right. That was fine.
Very good. Yes, I'm impressed by it. I think it's lovely. It's not major, but I think it can make a huge difference to the road. Just having things brightened up and yeah, it's a nice idea. I like the idea of the herbs. I saw that in Dundee, and they've got just outside the main shopping area there. They have it's actually a little garden and all the sort of herbs you can think of just for the community, and it hadn't been vandalised, which I was very impressed with. So let's hope that these don't either.
Yeah,
that's lovely. Thank you for that. Right, now then the next item. We can go into closed session. Can I ask Pam, do you want us to go into closed session?
Thanks, Councillor. So I think that's only if you wish to discuss the content of the appendix. I think the rest of it can be discussed in open session. Jane, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Yes. So, well, it'd be safer if we do go into closed session. won't it? So from this point onwards, the
Chair, may I just point
Chair,
out
can
it's
I
only for
just,
talking about the Appendix C item information, not for the rest of the report. So
Oh,
as
okay.
much as possible in the public session, and then
Okay.
just if it's specifically about the information in the Appendix C, then you go into closed session just for that little bit.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you, Jane. Right, and who's going to present this?
That's myself, Felicity Tibbery, Transport Planning Manager.
Thank you, Felicity.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval for the Local Transport Plan 3 implementation plan for 2021-22 year, following the approval of the £1 million funding allocated in the Council's capital programme at full council on the 9th of February 2021. Just to note that it is a statutory requirement to have an adopted local transport plan, which comprises of both a statutory document and the implementation plan. And the current implementation plan that's previously been approved expires on the 31st of March 2021. Appendix A of the report lists the proposed schemes to be funded from the capital allocation for 21-22. And there are a number of complementary work programmes being delivered alongside this programme. These include the Air Quality Local Plan, electric vehicle charging, the South East Hampshire Rapid Transit work, and also the Future Transport Zone, Solent Future Transport Zone work. Therefore, the recommendations of the report are to approve the attached Local Transport Plan 3 funded schemes for 21-22 in Appendix A. That secondly, authority is delegated to the Director of Regeneration in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Traffic and Transportation and the Section 151 officer to update the Local Transport Plan 3 implementation plan with the attached proposed Local Transport Plan funded scheme list in Appendix A as Portsmouth's adopted implementation plan for 21-22. Thirdly, authority is delegated to the Director of Regeneration in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Traffic and Transportation and the Section 151 officer to agree any minor amendments to the implementation plan that may be required to take account of future funding changes and policy announcements. And finally, that it is noted that a new local transport plan, the Local Transport Plan 4, is being developed, which will set out the vision, objectives and policies for taking the city's transport and travel network forwards over the next 16 years. And this process will lead to an updated implementation plan, which is expected later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicity. You haven't got a slideshow then?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bersher, any questions? Any comments?
No, I don't have any questions on the main body of the report then.
Thank you. Councillor Heaney?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I notice there's reference in the report on 3.5 to a reduction in the LTP programme budget by 192,000 from 835 to 643, but the recommendation says £1 million. So did you then replace the lost money and put it back in the budget in February?
Yes, so my understanding was that was last year's implementation plan due to the changes in the budget. Wayne or Joe, I didn't know if you wanted to come in on that.
Yeah, that's right. It was the 2021 programme that was reduced by the 192,000, whereas this allocation is for the 21-22 financial year.
Ah, the sentence doesn't say the 20, it just says LTP programme budget, it doesn't say which year, so that's why I got slightly confused as what was going on. So that explains it. Thank you. I did want to
because we talk about it as a programme budget, Councillor Heaney.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I had a couple of other questions. I'm not going to talk about the figures, but I noticed you have on page 14 an item called low traffic neighbourhoods. And it says there is growing demand, and it says a list of requests has been compiled, which is interesting. Can we know what this list of requests is and where it covers? Or would you prepare or share it with us later?
Michelle, Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle, I think Michelle's on the call. If you're able to comment on that, please.
I can certainly get it to get. It's not in a current at the moment. It's a group of emails in a folder in my Outlook box.
Right.
However, that will be easy to translate into a spreadsheet, which I can then share with you post meeting. So, yeah, currently I've kept a record of all of the correspondence and requests, but it's not a problem to change it into a much more readable format for you. So yeah, that's fine. I will do that.
I mean, the reason I asked is I asked a question yesterday because I thought the low traffic neighbourhoods project has sort of got a bit stalled, really. Partly because I don't think people necessarily know what they actually mean, and I don't think there's been enough publicity about what an LTN actually is. And I was suggesting yesterday, and I asked Lynn if she would basically run some publicity about what an LTN is so people know, so we can then have residents then saying, well, I'd like to explore this, or maybe our area might be worthwhile doing. I mean, she said she was going to contact ward councillors, which is fine, but I just think maybe there should be a bit more wider publicity about what an LTN is so people can say, well, yeah, we'd like to think about this, and then see if it produces a proposal. I know they are potentially, there's always potentially some disagreement in areas about these things because there is obviously potential for that. But I just think we need to do more to publicise the concept so we can get people to see whether they want it or not.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll put forward the list of correspondence that we've already had, and yes, we can take it as an action through either where it complements with LTP and our other strategies, or as a separate document to do some publicity with residents about the benefits of having a low traffic neighbourhood in their area.
Could you share that with myself as well, please, Michelle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it will come out to both of you. That's not.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I certainly expected Simon to have it. Yeah. I mean, that's something like that.
Any other questions or comments?
Not on the report. Right? Thank you.
Right. So is it?
Can I just ask the blindingly obvious, really? And I think I know what the answer is going to be. Probably 3 years ago, we had a notice of motion before full council about a minimum percentage of the LTP being spent on cycling. Does the LTP before us today meet that benchmark? Can't remember what the percentage was off the top of my head.
Felicity, do you know the answer to that?
So there is a breakdown, however, it is in Appendix C, which I know is the confidential appendices to the report. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the percentage is. However, the LTP3 priorities do focus on prioritising walking and cycling, and that is included within the prioritisation process for when schemes are prioritised to be put forward.
Yeah, this was primarily to do with cycling. I think it was when I was the cabinet member that there was a notice of motion that came. I want to say it was 10%, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But council agreed that there would be a minimum percentage spent on cycling, as I seem to remember it, with regards to the LTP. It might. I'm trying to be oblique because I've seen the exempt appendix and I don't want to make any reference to that. But it can't be difficult just to do a bit of cross-checking because if it doesn't meet that, then it's not compliant with a full council wish.
Yeah, no problem. I can certainly go away and check that point. I have just looked at Appendix C, and I do believe that that is covered, but I can certainly go away and clarify that point.
I think you're right. I think you're right in that, Felicity, but it might be just worth just double checking it.
No problem. Yeah.
So, any other questions on this bit? So, do we now go out, Jane, of this and come back in on a different, to be exempt?
Chair, it's only if you wish to talk about the Appendix C in closed session. If you're happy that you've had all the discussion you need to make your decision, then you can just carry on with the public meeting. It's your choice.
Simon and Graham.
I don't see any reference. I tried my best to body swerve around the exempt session with the question I've just asked. And I think, yeah, if it's checked and it's okay, that's fine. I don't see any necessity to go into exempt session as Graham does.
Graham?
No, I don't either. I don't wish to discuss the exempt appendix, so there's no reason to go into exempt session.
So are you happy that we go with the recommendations?
Well, it's your decision, Lynn, not ours.
Yeah, but I want to be happy with it as well. You know, I mean, I don't want to just sit here and say, yes, we go ahead. If you know, if you're happy that we've covered it and you're happy with it, then I'm happy.
Does this have to go to full council, or is it just what we've got here?
I don't know.
Just to come in on that.
So, yeah, I think it's just just delegation to the cabinet member, and
yes, that's what I'm going to say.
So does that go to council again? That was in the old days where we used to send everything back to council again after we decided at the committee.
Yeah.
So the LTP4, as and when it comes forward as the strategy and the implementation plan, will go to cabinet and then to full council.
Yeah, that LTP4. Yeah.
And then for subsequent years, the implementation plan will be coming through traffic and transportation. So it's only for the first adoption of that document that it goes through full council, and then it's delegated to traffic and transportation.
Lovely, thank you. And then going through the recommendations, 2.1, I'm happy that this is adopted, the LTP3 implementation plan. Number 2.2, authorities delegated the Director of Regeneration in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Traffic and Transportation, Section 1.5 Officer, to update the Local Transport Plan 3 implementation plan with the attached proposed Local Transport Plan funded scheme list, Appendix A, as Portsmouth's adopted implementation plan for 2021-22. And authorities given to the Director of Regeneration, etc., to agree any minor amendments to the implementation plan that may be required to take account of future funding changes and policy. And it is noted that a new local transport plan, LTP4, is being developed, which will set out the vision, objectives and policies for taking the city's transport and travel network forwards over the next 16 years. This process will lead to an updated implementation plan expected later this year. Okay. So I'm happy with all of that. Anything else?
No.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time. That was quick.
Okay, Chair, I will just stop the live streaming one moment, please.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, everybody.
And you too, Lynn.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.